Well, a very good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to wherever you may be in the world, and welcome back to the W1 Sim series that takes your screens once again on a Thursday afternoon / evening, and we're in for an absolute belter here this afternoon. We head to round 4 in the Styrian Hills for the Austrian Grand Prix. One of the first times we've had a repeat track in the W1 Sim series. Of course, it was one of our pre-season races, which was an opportunity for our drivers just to get accustomed with one another before heading in to our season proper, of which we find ourselves now in the 4th proper round. We've had 3 before this, 3 thrilling rounds, all with one individual winner of their own. But who can talk about anything less than Rebecca Morel, 3 times pole sitter here in the W1 Championship. Can she go potentially for 4 pole positions in a row here tonight? That's the question that we will find out in the next few moments. As always, my name's Tom Knight. Pleasure to be on your screens here tonight. We will have a Carl Paranek with us at some point this evening. He is just on his way home from work. So as soon as he joins, we will be able to get ourselves a second commentator. But before we do that, let us know in the live chat. See where we're all watching from today, because I know we've had some new people pop into the chat. New people pop in to both YouTube and Twitch. So do say hello. Let us know how you're feeling, because most of you, if you came from the TikTok that I do before this, probably saw it from that point of view back there. I did a little TikTok live before we got going. Just a little tour behind the scenes, but why not? Things we absolutely love to see. Well, we'll switch across rather quickly to our calendar for this season then. As you can see, we've had Australia, we've had Japan, we've also had Bahrain. Tonight, we are at Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix in the beautiful, picturesque Styrian Hills before heading to Silverstone next time out for round number 5 on the 5th of February. We then head to the second half of the season, and don't forget, sign-ups are opening up for the W1 series. After round 5 concludes, the opportunity for even more women and girls to get themselves involved in this series. If you're thinking about getting involved, come join the Discord. You can do so with !Discord in the live chat. And then our round 6 through 10 then, it's Belgium, Monza, Qatar, Abu Dhabi and Brazil as well. That is our 10 race calendar for the season, and those, of course, as we have mentioned many times before on this broadcast, they were all chosen by our drivers in a collective vote of the season, an opportunity for all of them to come together, try and race the races they wanted to do, and it has so far predicted a fantastic calendar as well. But we are about 5 minutes away from getting into qualifying. We're just waiting for some technical issues to sort themselves out. As we are all aware, technical gremlins are the most devious of gremlins as well that can get involved with any live broadcast. But I can confirm, and so overjoyed to say this, that I believe we have got a Mr. Paranek in the box with us. Carl, welcome home from work and welcome to W1 again.
Oh, it's good to be back. They said it couldn't happen again. Let me tell you, it can. Oh, it can. He's returned again. I'm delighted to be back. I'm absolutely thrilled. Full disclosure, breaking the fourth wall for a second. Tom and I were speaking after W1 last week. Firstly, about how amazing the support has been. So shout outs to each and every one of you. But also, I kind of alluded to the fact I was kind of gutted that I wouldn't be here for Austria because Austria in a league racing perspective is such an enticing prospect. You've got either the 2-stop or the 1-stop. Whether you try and play highball, go for that longer stint of the first stint, or whether you try and just go absolute full-on phenomenal pace, go for that 2-stop. It is an amazing track to go league racing at. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be back. What can I say?
It's a pleasure to have you back. First and foremost, though, we've gone through the calendar for the season. I think you were here just as we got into that. Obviously, we're technically 4 rounds down now. I'll allow us to say that as much. 6 to go. What are we thinking is possibly going to be the best race of those final 6?
That is a really good question. To be honest, Austria's got a really good shout of being up there, I think. Austria and probably Brazil, I would say. Maybe less so Brazil from a strategy perspective. It was like a very tricky one-stop. That sort of changed in months recently past. But even so, Brazil, it offers up classic racing. You can't go wrong at Brazil. I think that and Austria are my heavy favourites in terms of what's going to be like a blockbuster race. But I don't know, you can't really put a track up there because we've had Australia, Japan, Bahrain, and now we're going to have Austria. Those first 3 races, no matter what the track has been, they've brought class racing to the front.
You are absolutely right. And obviously, you weren't with us for the pre-season race in Austria, but I'm sure you've probably had that opportunity to go back and have a look and see how the race went. It was some fantastic racing. We had a race that was quite literally decided on penalties as well. I think that's going to be a massive talking point here tonight, is how good are you at staying out of trouble, staying within those white lines? Because, as we said, I think we are going to see a race potentially decided on track limits tonight.
I think it's quite possible, particularly in that last sector. Keep a close eye on that one. I think that's going to be a pretty big kicker. It's easy to get caught out. Firstly, you've got the double left-hander of... I'm trying to remember corner names now. I think Schlossgold's one of them off the top of my head. But this is the track in question. So at the end of Sector 2, leading into Sector 3, you have that double left-hander. Very easy to get caught out, not just on that second left-hander on the exit of the corner as you try and push the boundaries, but also on that first one as well. If you go wide, game does not play nice. It can and usually does give you a warning there. And then you've got those last 2 corners, particularly when you've got that 2-stop being the preferred strategy, when drivers are pushing the limits as much as they can, maybe to make up for lost time in some cases if they pit later, go for an offset. There may well be plenty of penalties. So it might well, like you say, be a race and a case of who is the cleanest driver out there tonight.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's going to be one that I think many people will be talking about for weeks to come, because it is one of the shortest circuits on the calendar, just 10 corners between start to finish, and of course most of them taken at a relatively high speed. I think you've only got about 2 or 3 heavy braking zones on this circuit, most of them typically at the end of DRS zones, which is rather frustrating, but who knows, we could see a rather influential dive here, there, or maybe everywhere as well. And just one thing we do get into just before we start off our campaign, our qualifying session. We'll talk about standings just a little bit later on, but one thing we can't bring up is our lineup for tonight's endeavours. So we have got Zara, also known as Curious Fire, making her return after last week's endeavours out in Bahrain. She steps in as the wildcard and the reservist for Team Haas. We then have a pretty much unchanged lineup for 90% of the grid. The likes of Willow Keeble, last week's race winner in Bahrain as well, alongside Annie Crevis for Team Alpine. It's Emma Clay and Miss Nutrix, both of them bringing vast experience in the F1 25 game and sometimes pure pace to their names. Melanie Janda and Carlotta Marchi line up alongside one another for the Scuderia Ferraris. And of course, Mayuki Panda, hopefully, as long as those technical gremlins dive themselves out of the way, lines up alongside Lee Woodward for the Papaya McLaren. Carl, why don't you take us through our other 5 teams?
Absolutely. Mercedes lined up by only one driver, and that is Hevar. Absolutely fantastic. We've then got RB, Catherine Thielking. What could have been for Catherine Thielking last week, eh? But she showed she has peerless pace. So expect to see more of that tonight. In Red Bull, we have championship leader Rebecca Morel as it stands at the moment, and Jessica Ball with her wealth of experience also alongside. Melissa Muller, the lone lean green machine in the Kick Sauber. And then in Williams, the best team on the grid, we've got Martine Smith and we've got Sarah Hardy. We're in business.
We absolutely are. And speaking of business, Carl, let's hop over to our venue for tonight. We speak of the Syrian Hills, we speak of Austria. And here we go then, all of our drivers on the track, bar one, who's just having some issues, I believe, with security, getting past the gates or something like that. Her Touch ID badge just wasn't quite clicking in, so has to get herself set up in the car. The engineers are working on it. Do not be worried, folks, as we get ready to go racing. But here we go then. 15 drivers at the moment taking to the virtual battleground that is Austria. 10 corners, three sectors as usual, and an opportunity to try and dismantle, of course, our reigning qualifying queen herself of Speed Queen, also known as Rebecca Morel. Carl, gone 3 from 3 in the season proper for pole positions gained. Surely someone's got to dismantle that tonight.
You'd think so. In theory, this is a pretty good opportunity to do it. Where the lap is so short, where the margins are so fine, where track limits can play a massive part. Meanwhile, here is Curious Fire back on the saddle. Zara returns, and great to see her back. Maybe even we'll see lots and lots of learning, and even if we don't, it's all going to be learning anyway, no matter how it goes. For the driver's perspective, across the line she goes to start her first flying lap of the Austrian hills. Your friend is between the 150-meter boards. You want to take as much inside curve as possible. A healthy amount has been chopped by the Haas driver, and now it's a bit of the burning of the battery, but more importantly, that DRS wide open. Look on the left, the 100-meter board. Brake as hard as you can. Get the car pinched into the apex. It's clean and composed so far from the Haas car. Another DRS zone, and then we head into that tricky downhill braking zone into the right-hander.
You're absolutely right. Again, just slamming on the brakes. You've got to get that car turned in. Sometimes it just does not want to listen to you on occasion. But so far, Curious Fire looking to have a lot more confidence than we saw out last time in Bahrain. I believe what was their first ever league race in F125 as well. So the confidence is going to grow week on week on week. And we said this at the close of last week's show, the opportunities to try and find time left, right and centre. And Lee Woodward so far setting an absolutely enormous lap, a 103.926 to kick off what is now the target time for all of our drivers to try and acquire. Curious Fire though up towards the line, a 109.4 with an opportunity to sit in P2 for an opportunity for the briefest of time as Teeny comes across the line. Martine Smith goes second after being displaced by both Ball and now Theo King as well.
Yeah, we knew Theo King was going to be up there. That's not a bad lap either. Purple Sector 3 belongs to the RB in that glorious pink Miami livery as it just transverses the Styrian Hills. But even so, I think I saw Curious Fire also using no ABS. I saw the fronts locking up into the right-hander in Sector 2. So fair play, not an easy gig as our last week's race winner, Willow Keeble, goes into P3. Just over 2 tenths separate 1, 2 and 3. But ladies and gentlemen, the Speed Queen is on an outlap.
That she absolutely is. Keep your eyes on that Red Bull. More like the White Bull, actually, as they approach in towards turn 9 and turns 10 here. It is certainly going to be one of these laps to try and make or break. Of course, once you've gone for 3 pole positions in a row, you'll be surely hoping, thinking and praying that the opportunity is yours to try and claim a 4th here tonight. Can Morel try and do the undoubtable and claim 4 poles in one row?
That's the $1 million question. We'll have the answer. A cheeky bit of slipstream. That's from Emma Clay, just on an outlap out of the pit lane. That will hopefully help out the Speed Queen's time. It's not a purple sector 1 though, a 17.7. Perhaps saving a bit of battery for later in the lap. In fact, not using the battery, it looked like. And no, still flashing at the back. Already, the lap has been aborted by Rebecca Morel. Recharging, perhaps going for another warm-up lap. Or just perhaps feeling turn 1 was just too suboptimal on that occasion. We could see, I mean, I don't want to tempt fate here, but the margins already are this close. We could see a millimetric margin decide pole position. Yes, Speed Queen by name and by nature usually steals it right at the death, but it's going to have to be one hell of a lap, particularly a 103.9 from Lee Woodward. That is impressive work.
It absolutely is. Just some information coming through from one of our drivers. It's the second Williams card. You might want to cover your ears so you don't, in fact, hear this. We are being told they are running with no setup for this qualifying session. Accidentally pressed the wrong button and unfortunately has not been able to set what would have been a potential good lap time for Team Williams here. There's still opportunities. Let's not get our lines twisted because it can sometimes come down to the finest margins, but certainly you'd say a disadvantage.
Indeed. I don't really have much to comment on that, other than, God, the weather's nice. Now, Speed Queen by name and by nature is now pushing to the limits. Look how much track she uses in towards the right-hander. Every single bit of bitumen being utilised by the White Bull. And now it's using all of that entry curb. You don't want to hit the inside, not for that particular corner. Be careful on the exit not to invalidate. And that's 4 seconds up on her current time. Sector 3, there will also be exponential amount of gains. But how brave are you through these final 2? Hardly braking, in fact, basically just lifting through the penultimate corner. Use that inside curb. Keep it within track limits. Speed Queen by name. Speed Queen by nature. It's a purple sector 3. But it's already closing up at a rapid rate of knots at the front.
You're absolutely right. Can we just appreciate 208 thousandths separated what was the top 4? Make that the top 5. Emma Clay now reclaims the top spot, a 103.881. The first time you've had someone new at the top of the timing tower for this entire qualifying session. Holy smokes, take a bow, Emma Clay.
Sort of came out of nowhere, but that's what we expect from Emma Clay, to be right at the sharp end, challenging the front few, and now she's right at the forefront of the pecking order. 103.881, just over, in fact, 400ths separate Emma Clay and Lee Woodward. The chase then is very much on. Lee Woodward not resting on their laurels, gone out for another lap, although has already invalidated.
Yeah, this is going to be a question of 2 minds now for Lee Woodward. Do they head in towards the pits? Do they get a fresh set of tyres? They still have plenty of time on our qualifying clock, 10.5 minutes or so. But will they try and maybe go for a fresh set of tyres? Are they going to go for an additional run on these? Because we know just how chaotic it can be on used rubber, especially at a circuit so demanding on those tyres as Austria is. And the opportunity, let's see what Woodward does. Normally, very cool, calm and composed is our resident, well, one of our fastest drivers on the circuit, Lee Woodward. Let's see what they're going to do. They are going to take the normal approach through turn 10 here. And the Papaya McLaren is going to go for one more run, Carl.
I was going to say, Austria, shortest track on the calendar in terms of lap time, in terms of whatever else you want to call it. But that does mean, of course, if you do make a slight mistake and you need to retreat to the pits, it's less of a burden, particularly when we go to Spa later in the season. That is going to be it's a bit of a conundrum to try and deal with. Through Sector 1, though, car pinches in beautifully in towards the right-hander of Remus. And we'll see what Lee Woodward can conjure up throughout the rest of Sector 2. Brake again at the 100-metre board, if not slightly later. Lock up on the front right tyre, pushing right to the ragged edge of what the Papaya machine can muster up. The left-hander awaits through Sector 2. Is it going to be purple? Is it going to be an improvement on their previous time? No, it is not. Just using a bit too much of the tyres, maybe.
I think you're absolutely right. They have gone quicker, though, than Emma Clay in that second sector. We are going to get a question here to the possible Papaya perplexities that afford us here. For Lee Woodward, running through turn 10, can they try and topple Emma Clay at this time of asking? They'll run up towards the start-finish line. No, it's not even going to be an improvement on their personal lap here, Carl. Lee Woodward has got some work to do in the remaining 9 minutes of this session.
Well, it all comes down to that lap previously, doesn't it? The chip away of the confidence, the usage of the best of the tyres. Speaking of which, Catherine Thielking, with no such chaotic problems, takes loads of curb through the penultimate corner. She is not leaving any quarter. No stone unturned. That is going to be provisional pole. A 3.6. It's an immense lap time from the RB.
Absolutely stunning. Purple in the second sector, I can assure you of that. Third still held by Rebecca Morel. Let's pull it up on your screen so you can have a quick look and see how that goes. I appreciate I need to move it out of the way because it's currently covering the sponsor boards at the bottom. But Field King purple in the first and the second. Morel still holding that third. So Team Red Bull, no matter which side of the fence you sit on, certainly are about to have a party here in Austria so far. But it's not over yet. It is not over until the checkered flag drops on our qualifying, and which will happen in just under 8 minutes or so. And I appreciate, Carl, that it is looking a little bit cloudy outside, but fear not, everybody. There is no rain on the horizon.
Oh, that is absolutely excellent. Speaking of on the horizon, Emma Clay possibly, potentially, setting another personal best lap. Maybe even another provisional pole. It's purple in Sector 1 for the Aston Martin driver. Will there finally be a changing of the guard in the quest for pole position? And will it belong to either Catherine Thielking or Emma Clay for the time being? 7.5 minutes to go. Feels like we've been 12 rounds in this qualifying session, but that's the beauty of the Austria track. You get to see so much action because of just how damn small the track is. through the Sector 2 split, only 9 thousandths up. It is going to have to be the third sector of a lifetime for Emma Clay.
It absolutely is, of course, one of our race winners back at the Japanese Grand Prix. Clay comes through turn 9, in towards turn 10, looking to try and desettle Theo King for Team V Cup. Can the Aston Martin, the lean green racing machine, go faster? That they certainly can. Emma Clay back to the top of the timing towers, a 103.625. And that is serve returned by Emma Clay.
My jaws hit the floor. What a final sector from Emma Clay. I presume that was fastest, quite frankly. I can't see any other way it could have gone. But Emma Clay, there's the confirmation, a 19.1 in the final sector, displaces the Speed Queen, who has just started another flying lap, is heading through Remus as we speak. But that is a show-stopping final stanza from Emma Clay. And could the quest for a new pole sitter finally be completed today?
Well, never count out Rebecca Morel. We've learned that time and time again. I think last time out in Bahrain, the lap came out of quite literally nowhere with seconds to spare on the timekeeper's clock. It isn't necessarily the best first sector for Rebecca Morel, a 15.8 compared to the 15.7 that other drivers have been doing, but purple in that second sector. Let's keep an eye on this white ball. They'll run through the final couple of corners. Can they try and match the speeds that Clay held? 157 miles an hour through turn 9. Through turn 10 comes Rebecca Morel. Can they try and reclaim top spot? No! Oh, that's so close between the two of them, but couldn't quite topple her. Second place is where Rebecca Morel will have to stand for now.
Well, Emma Clay's last sector was pretty show-stopping. Rebecca Morel said, "I raise you the middle sector of Marvel." That was almost a cinematic spectacle from the Red Bull, or the White Bull in this case. Not purple overall, though. That still belongs to Catherine Thielking, but 3 tenths up through the middle sector split was right on the bubble. Only 100th between her and Catherine Thielking. It's absolutely ridiculous as Lee Woodward goes bumbling over the outside curbing of Remus and, no surprise, is going to recharge and retreat maybe even to the pit lane. Has got time to do so, courtesy of the Spielberg track. Elsewhere, though, in other news, there is a bit of a war going on in terms of the mid-pack. Jessica Ball and Miss Nutrix having their own lovely little scrap. Melissa Muller not far off that. As you go further back as well, plenty of drivers improving. Curious Fire has improved by over a second in his qualifying session.
She absolutely has, and still got 4 minutes and some change left on the clock as well if she wants to try and improve just that little bit more. Of course, some of these drivers, and I say this with no mean feat, it is quite literally their first or second or third time ever league racing on F125. So it is fantastic to see the confidence grow week in, week out, week in, week out. And at the moment, Miss Nutrix is going faster, both in the first and second sectors for the lean green racing machine. Her teammate may be at the top spot, but at the moment, Nutrix wants that spotlight all for herself. Comes across the line, improves the place, goes 6th fastest.
Not far off Willow Keeble either. Neat little lap from Miss Nutrix. And to extend what you said, TK, and even to probably reiterate what we said last week, it's just how amazing it's been to see everyone uplifting one another in terms of whether there's been a bad day on the racetrack, whether someone's felt like there's been a chink to their confidence. Immediately, everyone rallies behind them to uplift them. That's the beauty of W1 Sim Series, and Heather is going 2 tenths faster. A time in the 1:06s might well await. Annie Crevice, meanwhile, just went about 2 seconds faster. No big deal, up to P12. 1:06.635. What can Heather muster up, though? Chops loads of the inside final curve at the Red Bull curve. It is P13, and just a whisker away from Annie Crevice in P12.
You're absolutely right. I think once you find that confidence on this circuit, the minute you start attacking some of the curbs with a greater degree, we saw it through turn 9, I think, quite notably, you can really attack that inside curb, but you have to build the foundations first. They always say Rome was never built in a day, and it's the same with any good lap time, isn't it? You have to get those key foundations, the braking points, the turn-in points, the confidence in how the car's going to settle once you throw it in, and then you can start building on it. And these foundations that all of the drivers are laying down are absolutely fantastic. They are the absolute right thing you want to be doing. As we do see Melanie Jander going fastest for the Scuderias, goes almost a second faster herself, 9 tenths of a second, puts herself up to 10th.
And a millimetre away from the 105s as well. Impressive work from Melanie Jander in the prancing horse. But like we said in Bahrain, the whole track has its own challenges, depending on the particular sector. Same kind of thing with Austria. You've got that point and shoot element of Sector 1 leading into Sector 2. Then you've got this technical flowing section through Sector 2. And then it is all out attack through those final 2. That's where this driver has excelled. Emma Clay, fastest of the entire session so far. And if she can improve on that lap time, who knows? It might just be the pole, the speed queen, the pole supremo herself, finally being dethroned.
Certainly could look that way. Just under 2 minutes left on our qualifying clock. The opportunities for all of our drivers now starting to face somewhat of a reality. The climb up through turn 2. The little kink to the left, albeit not should officially be called a corner, for Emma Clay in towards a heavy braking zone of turn 3. You essentially only have one corner in this first entire sector to try and get right, which is why it's such a make or break corner to open up this lap. Not improving though in that first corner, and it's back off by Emma Clay though in the early stages of this run.
I think she does have the luxury of just about being able to get another lap in if her timings are right. As Miyuki Panda has joined the session, it is a day to rejoice. Also, Lee Woodward starts a flying lap. Rebecca Morell starts a flying lap. Emma Clay, perhaps with a chink to the confidence, has to regroup, has to revitalise herself for one last crack at the whip at the end of this session. Lee Woodward is going faster as they head in towards Schloss Gold. Use as much of the outside curb as you can. It can tend to unsettle the car just a tiny bit. It's not much, but it's thousandths we're talking about now, not just tenths. It's a purple sector 2, according to the minimap, for Lee Woodward, but only half a tenth's worth of improvement. It's nowhere near enough.
Yeah, 2,000ths of a second actually off the fastest middle sector by Catherine Thielking was Lee Woodward, but round turn 9 and turn 10 looking to improve on 4th place here this afternoon. The McLaren runs up towards the line, improves by 13,000ths of a second, but not quite enough to try and make an impact. Speed Queen backs off by the look of it, 4 seconds slower through that second split. The double warm-up lap has been a favoured one for a lot of our drivers here this afternoon, and it looks like Speed Queen will be using that to her advantage. Emma Clay not improving through the first sector as well. Lots Thielking doing, also not improving through that first and second sector. So all of our drivers might have found their match here this afternoon. What's Willow Keeble doing? Personal improvements in the first and the second. Jess Ball's gone purple in the first sector as well. All of our drivers starting to find pace here this afternoon. Willow Keeble, last week's race winner, out in Bahrain. Can she improve? No, not this time. But she comes across the line. Keep an eye on Jessica Ball, though. She invalidates. Oh no, it hasn't been the run out for herself. However, the Mercedes car could not improve. Keep an eye on Emma Clay now, running through the final corner, is improving through the second sector. Clay by name, Clay by nature, does not improve, but stays first fastest. Can Woodward try and do anything about it? No. They're in towards the pit lane. Nutrix now will be next across the line. Through the final couple of corners, they will run. Will it be an Aston Martin? One. Where will the second Aston Martin finish? 6th place for themselves. Rebecca Morell, though, is improving up towards the line. She's done it again. Speed Queen by name, Speed Queen by nature. Rebecca Morell, take a bow.
Emma Clay thought she had it signed, sealed, delivered maybe, but the quadruple is quenched. The thirst for pole position once again right to the death is quenched for Rebecca Morell. That's 4 in a row now in W1 Sim Series. Pole positions, though, have never been her issue. It's race day where it all just seems to unravel. Maybe, just maybe, at the Red Bull ring, the Red Bull driver can put that wrong extremely right.
I don't know if this is the lap or me maybe just shouting a bit too much at the end of qualifying. I am speechless, and that doesn't happen very often. 4 rounds in W1. 4 rounds she has claimed pole position here this afternoon. Speed Queen, absolutely by name and absolutely by nature. Rebecca Morell proving once again here this afternoon that she is quite possibly the fastest driver over a single lap distance, and she will take her crown with her.
13,000ths of a second as well, just to talk about the margins we're playing with. Absolutely insane stuff. Rebecca Morell, 4th time in a row, is pole sitter in W1 Sim Series. Emma Clay, oh so close, but not close enough. Catherine Thielking in P3 with Lee Woodward rounding off the second row. Then it's Willow Keeble, Miss Nutrix, Jessica Ball, Melissa Muller, Cutie Bunny 25, and Melanie Jander rounding out our top 10. Teeny in the Williams, Carlotta, Annie Crevice, Heather, Curious Fire, lead our lineup. Well, round out our lineup. Miyuki Panda will also be joining us. So there we are. What a qualifying session. Wow.
What? I'm speechless, Carl. I'm very rarely speechless. But what a qualifying we've just seen. And now we have everyone's favourite part of the week, or maybe not everyone's favourite part of the week, we've got a lovely lobby reset, don't we?
We do indeed, but it gives us plenty of time to canter over lots of things, such as championship standings, such as race stipulation. Speaking of which, I had a brief look at the championship standings before this week occurred. It's actually very interesting, isn't it? Because it is Rebecca Morel that leads the championship standings. 3 pole positions, now make it 4. Hasn't won a race in W1 Sim Series, but her overall consistency has put her at the top by 5 points. Joint second is Emma Clay and Lee Woodward. Both have won a race in W Sim Series. And then you've got Melissa Muller in 4th place, 48. Has quietly been extremely consistent. Lies in P4 with Jessica Ball in P5. Catherine Thielking in P6 with Willow Keeble, last week's race winner, in P7. Miss Nutrix in 8th. Catherine Ormerod in P9 with Charlotte Perkins rounding out the top 10 after an extremely impressive drive in Sakir.
You're absolutely right. And then can we just appreciate P2, P3 and P7, all race winners here in the W1 Series. Of course, Clay winning Japan. We had Keeble winning last time out in Bahrain. And it was Lee Woodward that won out in Australia for round number 1. So there is such an opportunity for all of our drivers, not only to take a race win. I think everybody's got that potential here this afternoon, but also we've seen 3 different race winners in as many races. Are we going to see a 4th race winner here today? Will it be Rebecca Morel finally going from lights to flag?
Maybe she can finally shake that devil off her shoulder. Like I said, it's just race trim. It just seems to unravel through seemingly no fault of her own. Bar last week where she just didn't quite have the pace. But the 2 weeks before, safety cars just hindered her progress so immensely. If she can get that devil off her shoulder today at Austria, who knows? That pole position margin could become even scarier. That points gap margin could become even more ominous. You just don't know. A race win, though, could do worlds to a confidence of a driver.
It certainly can do indeed. And I know we ask this every week, but I think we've got quite a load of new people in both the Twitch and the YouTube chat. I made sure not to say the other one this time around, Victoria. You're welcome. But let us know who you might be supporting, who you think is going to maybe show us a good display here in Austria. It doesn't have to be a race winner. Could be someone that you think is just going to give us a good performance. And let us know the reason why as well. We want to hear from you because I guarantee I've got both the chats up. I'm sure Carl does as well. Being able to keep an eye on what everybody is saying. Because I tell you what, there is a lot of, hype and not panic, but there was a lot of gesticulations around Rebecca Morel and her last-minute lap that we should not be surprised by anymore, Carl, because it happened last week in Bahrain. It happened again here in Austria. Is it the favoured tactic of the Red Bull?
Maybe, quite possibly. The favoured tactic of the Speed Queen. You think you've knocked her off the perch? No, she reclaims her crown. It's just what she does. And even by the merest of margins, she still manages to do it. Like, in this particular case, I don't know how she's done that. After all of the problems that she seemed to have for herself during that qualifying session, whether that be invalidated lap times, whether that was just sectors not quite linking up, that is the mark of a championship leader, to pull it out of the bag at the very last moment. Lo and behold, she's in that position anyway. It's just that race result. If she can get that, she's in a good stead. Meanwhile, chats have been raining in. Ashley Eleanor, hello yourself, welcome in. But also, she says, Heather's improvements have been insane. She's quite right, T.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we have an end of season awards video, which I don't think we will do, but theoretically, if we had an end of season awards, I think Heather would be one of those drivers that is up there to maybe go for one of the most improved drivers of the series. Certainly started off, I don't want to say unconfident, because I think that's the wrong way of looking at it, but you can see how the confidence is built every single race. And, you know, you head from Japan where she had that spin out, the crash out. Bahrain last time, that car was looking more settled. Qualifying today, it was looking even more qualified, even more stable as well. So the improvements coming. I think by the time we get to Brazil in the season closer, who knows? Heather could be on for a race win for all we know. The confidence is improving exponentially, isn't it?
It really is. No, I couldn't agree more with you. Like, she's made no secret it's her first ever league racing series season that she's ever done. And that always puts pressure on you, whether you want to admit it or not. Subconsciously, it's always just trailing your back just a tiny bit. But even so, however small a victory it is, it's victories that she'll absolutely run with. Last week, she actually finished the race. She made it all the way through the race distance. Japan was a bit of a different story, but she's learning all of these new things. She's learning to run without certain assists. And for a first time in a competitive league series and season, it's a really damn tricky thing to do. So, honestly, plaudits where plaudits are due. Hats off to Heather. She's done a great job.
Absolutely. There's many other drivers as well that we can pick out. Curious Fire, literally her second ever race on F125, or her second ever league race on F125, stepped in at last week in Bahrain, did a fantastic job. Looking to make more improvements here tonight. We've got the likes of Sharkstorm, Keeble, those that might not have come in from a traditional league racing background. They do absolutely fantastic things week in, week out. If I haven't mentioned your favourite driver, I'm sorry. I try and mention as many as I can, but we'd be here all night if I was mentioning every single driver on the grid. Rio Harris has put in a paragraph and a half in the Twitch chat, so I'm going to try and read that out before it disappears from my screen. So here we go, everybody. Today's race will be very interesting. Two-stop against the one-stop. The one-stop requires a lot of management, whereas the two-stop allows maximum push, apart from the medium stint. Having clean air throughout the whole course, of course, the one-stop is perfect. Same with the two-stop, but I think it's better to do one-stop whilst in DRS train, so the slowed down pace due to management isn't helping keep the whole train at bay. Now I can breathe again.
I mean, Rio is quite correct, to be honest with you. He is quite correct. Generally, from experience, the two-stop is the quicker strategy, but again, that depends on things like traffic and DRS trains. You get the idea. Have so much more of a surplus of pace in those corners, maybe particularly in the last stint I'm eyeing up here. If you have that surplus of pace, you have that extra tyre life compared to the one-stoppers. Catch them at the right time, you get that extra momentum in the corners, you're breathing down their neck every single meter of the way. But it'll be really interesting. I completely concur. Austria doesn't disappoint in a league racing series. Sure as hell better believe it won't disappoint here either.
You are absolutely right, and I don't think you could be any more right. And we are literally 2 minutes away from going racing. All of our drivers have just loaded in to the lobby. They are given 2 minutes. Fingers crossed nobody pressed the buttons early, but we don't blame if they do. I've done it before. You've done it before. It happens. But they've got 2 minutes to apply their setups and their strategies. Get themselves prepared. Have a drink if you haven't already. I've got mine down here somewhere. Always got a water bottle with me. Because I know, and I'm sure you know, Carl, racing, you need a drink every now and then.
Oh, we're going to need it. I think we're going to especially need it tonight. I needed one during the first 3 races. Going to be no different today, but here we are in the paddock. Look at the Paddock Club. They're cheering, they're here for it, they've got the hype, and so should you here at W1 Sim Series. The cars aren't even moving. Look at their enthusiasm. They are loving it. But regardless, what a race this is going to be. We all thought the Speed Queen was going to be knocked off the eternal perch of pole position. Didn't happen. She's there once again. Can she finally get the race win in Austria? Will it be a 4th different race winner in 4 races in the W1 Sim Series? Or will there be a repeat winner? Many, many questions to answer, and we will discover all of those in those next 36 laps. It's going to be a firecracker.
It absolutely will. 36 laps to decide who is going to win here in the Steering Hills. Victoria in the Twitch chat. Was there a dress code to wear red in the Paddock Club? Apparently so. Maybe they're just sticking with the flag colours, of course, red and white here in Austria. Who knows? I'm wearing red. I think, Carl, are you in white today? Did I see that correctly?
I've got a black hoodie, but I've got some red on the logos. I've got
we'll take it.
Albert Park Circuit hoodie, which isn't too bad. I'm
Nice.
kind of in the wrong place geographically. We'll ignore that.
Ever so slightly.
Regardless, though, it begins with an A. I'll take it.
It absolutely does. I've got both reds and white on it. Completely unplanned, I'll be completely honest. I'll struggle when we get to Brazil because I don't think I've got any green clothing. But alas, I might not even be here for that, unfortunately. I might be called away on other things. But we shall see. We are getting ready. Carl is not invited to the Paddock Club, everybody. They have to be in red and or white by the looks of things. But our drivers are pretty much ready to go racing. Carl, I'm hearing rumours from the driver. We're going to have a downpour.
Oh, that'd be interesting. A mid-race downpour. That changes things slightly. Well, of course, we've had the lobby reset in between qualifying. So regardless of whatever setup they put on in qualifying, now they have a little bit of thinking to do. They adjust their setup in such a way that it's good in both the dry or the wet conditions? Do they play chicken in that regard? Or is the dry period going to last the longest? Therefore, having a dry setup, taking a little bit of pain in the wet stint, but equally, you have the most pace for the majority. It's such a psychological gremlin to try and deal with.
It absolutely is. Starters and their marshals have given the order for our drivers to ready up. And Victoria, you're absolutely correct. I do have a Caterham hoodie. I forgot. That's absolutely green. I wore it to Silverstone. What was I going to say? Someone in the chat made an interesting predicament. Carl, here we go. What are your predictions for the race win, Carl?
One of my predictions, that's a great question. Do you know what? I have faith. I'm going to say Rebecca Morel finally cures her race day demons. She gets the race win tonight.
I think I'm going to share the same sentiment. The question, though, today will be, when is that rain coming? How much of an impact on this race is it going to have as our drivers set off for their formation lap? And we will tell you that light rain is expected in about 30 minutes, Carl.
A decent amount of time for the drivers to get onto it. I'll be interested to see what tyres they've gone for, whether they're going to go for the hard tyres, try and just get the one stint before the wet period, and some drivers have had that particular idea. Emma Clay and Catherine Thielking in that top 3 have done so. Others going for the mediums, the majority in fact. But Miss Nutrix on the hards. We have Teeny also on the hards. Williams on the hards. My goat. Annie Crevice and Heather also on the hard compound tyres, trying to go for that one stint. But as we always know on F125, usually rain indicators like to lie. So it will probably arrive in like 10 minutes, and then who knows.
Well, the 30 minutes is not according to the drivers. This is according to my telemetry that I've got behind the scenes. This is normally accurate to within 2 minutes, is what I've learned. It normally comes 2 minutes earlier than it actually says on the screen, but 30 minutes is roughly when that track will be wet enough to require wet tyres. Now, I'm just doing some mental maths in my head, and I appreciate that I haven't done very well in maths since I was at college, but 30 laps around here, 30 minutes, is about 30 laps, maybe give or take 25 around here. In a 36-lap race, we're going to have maybe 10, well, between 5 and 10 laps on wet tyres.
That does seem like the case. I agree with your calculations entirely. Whether the hard tyre runners will actually be able to go for the one stint all the way to the wet period, we have no idea how much tyre management they're planning to do. Regardless, though, we'll answer those questions in a moment. Miyuki Panda's here, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That is delightful news. Technical gremlins have been dealt with. She is here for race day, where there's every chance there's an opportunity for something big for every single one of these drivers. Come hell or high water, whatever the weather may bring, we are ready for the ride.
We absolutely are. Here we go then. Round 4 of the W1 Sim Series. 5 lights are lit. And the lights go out, and we go racing. Speed Queen once again with a fantastic pull away from pole position, but keep an eye on Emma Clay, already side by side towards the first corner. Emma Clay takes the lead of the race. That's Melissa Muller, though, falling down the order after contact early on. Yellow flags starting to come out nice and early, but the run up towards turn 3 now. Rebecca Morel has to get those medium tyres fired up as early as she can. Thielking down the inside of Lee Woodward, who tries to hold it around the outside. They have held position, but the inside line off that launcher, Carl, has been the one to be on. Second place is up to first. Fourth place is up to second. This is an incredible run so far. Here comes Lee Woodward back past Rebecca Morel up into 1-2 for Clay and Woodward.
Such a contrast at the start. It looked like Rebecca Morel just bogged down off the line. Despite that surplus of grip the medium tyres should have, Emma Clay with a scorching start. Lee Woodward immediately activating the mediums, and immediately the body language of Rebecca Morel's car looking very nervous as Annie Crevice does manage to regain the track after a brief yellow flag intervention. But come the end of lap number 1, pole sitter is down to P3. Emma Clay, P1 on the hard compound tyres. Amazing start from the Aston Martin.
I think couldn't have been a better start for Emma Clay, of course, also on the harder tyres, potentially trying to look and run this out till that rain arrives. But Lee Woodward, with that DRS assistance, which comes so quick and so fast here on the Austrian circuit, retakes the lead here as they run up towards turn 3. I think this is going to be the battle to keep an eye on all race around, and the DRS is going to be the key talking point as well. All of our cars still within close contention. Last week's race winner, Willow Keeble, holding close and firm towards that top 5. A bit of separation further back to Jessica Bull. Over a second now, just managed to get under that 1 second, but everybody else is trying to find their rhythm. It's important to do that early on. 36 laps is a long race to go if you're starting to feel uncomfortable in that car.
Couldn't agree more. Miyuki Panda's made decent progress, up 3 places from the back of the grid. Her next target is Carlotta Marchi in the Ferrari for P12. A decent gap to the cars up ahead, but plenty of clear air to save her tyres once she clears the Ferrari. But that is task number 1. Meanwhile, P1 through 6, they've all broken away. It's Sarah Hardy versus Miss Nutrix for P7. Lee Woodward, no surprise, has the fastest lap for the moment. But now it's 3 DRS zones worth of pain that the Papaya Pro has to face.
You're absolutely right. Emma Clay now with that rear wing open as they run up towards turn 3. Can she try and go for a move? No. We're going to see that patient game. Little lock up from the Papaya McLaren in front. But Emma Clay knows these games. She's played them time and time again. And on the run down towards turn number 4 now, will we see this Aston Martin pounce? I don't think so. We are going to see the very patient game from Emma Clay use the DRS, allow Woodward to try and drag her through, and that ultimately is going to be the opportunity she's got to be waiting for. Melissa Muller gets the better of Martine Smith, up for 9th place after that earlier spin that she suffered from race start, and so far looking like it could kick off. A good recovery drive here, Carl, but there is damage, so that kicks Sauber.
Even with the damage, impressive pace from the lean green machine. Now she's got to try and break DRS, but that just exacerbates the issue. Look how much more grip and purchase that Martine Smith has, despite not quite having maybe the same overall caliber of pace. The aerodynamic deficiency of that kick Sauber is just letting the Williams get back into it. My goat. Speaking of my goat, they're holding up Miss Nutrix for P7. That is Sarah Hardy in 7th place and having a great run at things so far.
She absolutely is. So far running with pure conviction and confidence, of course, up from 9th place, what was in 7th place, and now Miss Nutrix steals that away. So still positive in terms of positions are both of our drivers. Miss Nutrix dropped down one from where she started in 6th place originally. But of course, still a long race to go. Only 4 laps completed so far here, Carl, and they've just got to find that rhythm. Rain is still on the horizon, 25 or so minutes until we see the first drops on this race course. The question is going to be, where is that first rain going to come from as we watch on board while Yuki Panda sends a move down the inside of Carlotta Marchi, who tries to hold the own round the outside of turn number 4, but the Papaya McLaren surely has the traction, has the grip in towards the long left-hander. Still side by side they run. If the game wishes to give us a better camera angle, they do, and my Yuki Panda, who started last on the grid here this afternoon, makes her way up to 12th place.
Spellbinding sequence from Yuki Panda, held it round the outside and did an absolutely delightful job of it. Up to P12, 4 places gained since the start of the race, and the progress could well continue. Speaking of progress, Emma Clay wants P1 back, and she's going to get it. Down the inside, not going to wait and try and play the DRS games. She just wants the traction. She just wants to burn that battery, get on down the road as quickly as possible. The delta between the hards and the mediums, the crossover is quite quick. Lee Woodward knows that though. Goes late on the brakes, shows the nose to the inside. Emma Clay will hold it for as long as she dares. Little bit of wheel banging, nothing to separate them in terms of margins. Lee Woodward gains back the lead here in Austria. Rebecca Morel and Catherine Thielking having a scrap of their own though for P3.
It's absolutely fantastic battling all amongst this circuit. Looking at the top 6 all now within DRS of one another as Jessica Ball has managed to retake herself in towards that 1 second margin of Willow Keeble. Last week's race winner. That's a bit of a tongue twister to try and say quickly. Out in Bahrain, but the top 6 all close to one another at the moment. Miss Nutrix just 2.3 seconds off the back of this pack and starting to close in after dispatching the likes of Sarah Hardy, Cutie Bunny, who sits in 8th place at the moment, with Melissa Muller making her way through the field in 9th place after that recovery drive early on. We got some great battles all up and down this field. My Yuki Panda not far off the back of Melanie Janda as we see Lee Woodward having to go defensive in towards turn 3. Emma Clay knows she can just show the nose anytime she wishes. The overspeed that Aston Martin has got sometimes seems so beneficial that the McLaren doesn't have any defence, Carl.
Yeah, smart from Emma Clay actually, just sized it up, played a slightly different game this time with the DRS, forced Lee Woodward to defend to the inside. Perhaps a little telegraphing of what's to come later on when the hard tyres do find their overall surplus. Keep an eye on Catherine Thielking as well, has been relentlessly pressuring the pole sitter of Rebecca Morel. Speed queen by name and by nature, Catherine Thielking looking to dethrone her from the podium in this race. And on the hard tyres as well, if she makes her way through, she had monstrous race pace last time out in Bahrain. If she keeps that up here, there's no reason she can't fight right at the front.
You're absolutely right, and one thing we will be keeping an eye on as this race progresses, that tyre delta on the right-hand side. You can see how the mediums and the hards are starting to balance themselves out. When that rain comes down, we'll pay attention to the inters and the wets, but Emma Clay now has the run once again up towards turn number 3, sends it down the inside of Lee Woodward, who tries to swing it around the outside. The Papaya McLaren not all fed up of running in first place for so long, but Emma Clay, can she get the drive down towards turn number 4? The DRS in favour of the lean green racing machine. Clay tries to stick to the the nose, similar to what Woodward did this time around last lap, but doesn't quite have the confidence to send the nose in. And Woodward holding on by hook or by crook to the first place position at the moment.
Holding on extremely well. Meanwhile, further back, Yuki Pandas got dispatched another prancing horse. For P11 on the road, must have happened last lap. She's already just stormed off into the distance. Now trying to find progress to catch one of the Williams cars. Please don't. But Rebecca Morel is closing in. Emma Clay has had a little bit of a whoopsie during the final sector. That in turn, though, causes the concertina. And here's Catherine Thielking to try and capitalise on the momentum. Thinks much better of it, though. Just not quite having the overspeed. But look how much curb she takes, adapting to the dirty air. Thielking is on a tear in race trim. Emma Clay, though, going for the race lead again. She played the DRS game last time. No games being played this time. Massive lockup into Remus. Catherine Thielking makes the move into Remus for P3 on the road. Uses the hard tyres to good effect. Has she got the overspeed to defend from Rebecca Morel? Can Emma Clay keep the lead from Lee Woodward? Pinches the car in. A rude shove to the inside to try and deter the McLaren. She's had enough of playing second fiddle for the race lead. Holds the inside during Rauch corner. Towards the Worth curve we go. And Emma Clay, made of sterner stuff, takes the lead here in Austria.
Absolutely fantastic battling, but here we go then. First penalty of the afternoon being handed out to Catherine Thielking as once again Woodward gets the position back, and I wonder if that was Clay maybe just handing the position back to her in hopes that a penalty does not come her way from the steward's room, and if so, fantastic sportsmanship being shown between our two drivers. Clay, though, not settling for P2. Little look to the inside. Immediately back in front of Catherine Thielking. Wasn't quite happy with that move this time around, but the front four joined by both Keeble and Ball, with Miss Nutrix, who's gained a second on this pack from last time we mentioned. They go 2 by 2 now in towards turn number 3. Clay this time to the inside. Thielking tries to stick a nose down the inside and isn't quite successful on this time of asking, but Thielking really starting to get involved in the battle for the lead now as they run down towards turn number 4. Certainly a 3-horse race for the lead.
Inadvertently helped Emma Clay out a treat. Lee Woodward couldn't quite optimise the exit in the way they would have wanted to. Catherine Thielking doing a massive favour for our current race leader, who now does get it on the track. No hyper-aggression, no histrionics. It's just a clean move for the lead, and look at the difference of the medium tyres versus the hard tyres. No wonder Emma Clay wanted to get down the road a little bit sooner. She's already broken a second as they head through the Rindt curve. Catherine Thielking almost makes a move. Lee Woodward, no surprises into the pit lane. Look at the tyre wear on the right-hand side of your screen. Just 9 tours of Austria, 70% wear accrued on that front left.
Yeah, and interesting that a lot of drivers have opted for those medium tyres. Everybody else as well, quite a considerable number still running those yellowed walled tyres provided by Pirelli. Another penalty coming the way of Cutie Bunny. That is Sarah Hardy for Team Williams. Unfortunate to see, but this could be interesting in terms of strategy. Here we've got an Aston Martin moving slowly at the exit of turn 3. They're quite an easy one just to send the car into a bit of an unpredicted spin, but Miss Nutrix does get the car going. She's lost about 2 seconds to this front pack, but not anything that she can't try and reclaim here.
Absolutely. Ever the misconsistent is Miss Nutrix. We can trust in that. Lee Woodward already passed one of the Williams cars. It's devastating to see, but on new tyres, it was a foregone conclusion. On the hards, through goes Lee Woodward into P9. How does everybody else respond, though? Knowing that the rain is around the corner at some point this race, when do they choose to pull the trigger? They don't want to lose too much time by running out a bit too long. Wouldn't surprise me. There's the surprise absolutely cut short because Willow Keeble is into the pit lane. Obviously off the medium tyres. Will, I imagine, put the hard compound tyres on all the way to the rainy sticks.
I think you're absolutely right in what you're saying here, Carl. We are going to see those one stops before the rain comes. We are only on lap 11, of course. Rain still not expected for over 19 minutes in this moment in time. Melissa Muller joins her in the pit stops opposite the medium tyres. We've got a great battle. Cutie Bunny as well, battling in towards turn 1. You can see the Williams there just on the escape of the corner with Mayuki Panda close in tow, with Teeny as well just behind Martine Smith. So the 4-way fight for what is 7th place on circuit. Fresh tyres for Willow Keeble, not holding holding back at the moment, sends it down the inside of Mayuki Panda, and it's a double move from Willow Keeble, last week's race winner. The traction unprecedented from that Alpine, and a mistake from Cutie Bonner. Sarah Hardy finds her falling down not one but two positions.
Sterling stuff from Willow Keeble, but look at the power of the undercut. 4 seconds gained by Lee Woodward. They were in the same DRS train, not but a couple of laps ago. Speaking of which, that DRS train at the front has just been cut down to 2. Emma Clay and Catherine Thielking just propelling each other along. Rebecca Morell stays out, and credit where it's due. Well, she had a bit of an arduous start to the race as Curious Fire exits the pit lane on a fresh set of tyres. Credit where it's due. Rebecca Morell, despite the age of those medium tyres, fastest lap for Lee Woodward on the hards of 106.5, but she's still got decent pace. She's still managing to just about hang on to the pace of the hard runners out in front, but look at the delta this lap. It might just be 1 lap too much for the Red Bull driver.
I think you're absolutely right. Let's check in with our pole sitter. Let's see how that car's faring. So the front tyres really not looking worn at all. Only about 36%. 36. That can't be right, surely.
Sorry? What is this tyre whispering nonsense I'm seeing? Is it Ninja? Like, what's going on? I mean, the rears, I expect.
Yeah.
The front's being only 37% worn. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, it explained the surplus of pace that she might have had. There's Jessica Ball, her teammate, has in the 50s on the front. So even she has got less front tyre wear. Just Lee Woodward cranking on the steering lock to extract the pace out of the car more so. But 30% on the front tyres is quite something. And still, Rebecca Morell stays out for another lap on lap number 13, getting a very, very impressive tyre delta on.
I don't blame her in the slightest. If your front tyres already sat about 30%, you must be doing something right, especially here in Austria. Jess Ball, as you said, in towards the pits, the first of the Red Bull cars to enter in toward pit road. Lots of other drivers still getting involved as well, as Melissa Muller trying to get the better of Teeny there, who's in the pits. Is that for a second time? No, first time for Teeny, as I get my maths to my Williams cars mixed up here, Carl.
Well, this is all very interesting. Thielking piling on the pressure on Emma Clay, but do they really want to fight, knowing the pace that the new tyre runners have? Willow Keeble and a bunch of others have peeled in, but the delta that you secure from getting the new tyres on is absolutely ridiculous. Rebecca Morell apparently just massages front tyres. That's absolutely ridiculous, as half the wear of basically anybody else on the mediums still stays out. Will she finally pull the trigger at the end of this lap? I wouldn't be surprised if she did. No, stays out for another lap. Rebecca Morell is doing some godly tyre work, up to 42% on the front left, 70% on the rear left. She could go all the way to lap 16 on this set of mediums. That's mighty impressive work.
That's absolutely incredible. I thought that was something wrong with our data for a minute there, Carl, just how well she's holding on to those tyres. Because if we look at the likes of the hard tyre runners, she's almost doing better than the hard tyre runners on the front tyres here, Carl. I don't know how she's done it. There is some witchcraft and wizardry going on in that Red Bull car.
Through Remus corner she goes, and no, it's not a full moon. No, it's not a werewolf. Don't scratch your eyes, ladies and gentlemen, because Rebecca Morell has conjured up some tyre-saving cheer here in the Styrian Hills. The front two, though, are breaking away. Speaking of breaking away, Jessica Ball intends to do just that on her new tyres. Breezes past Mayuki Panda for P7 on the road. But look at the gap. Just a couple of laps of sitting on those medium tyres. Now has 8 seconds worth of a gap to Willow Keeble. Lee Woodward's pace on the hards is absolutely generational because they've gained time on Willow Keeble, despite the tyres being slightly older. So fair play to the McLaren Maestro. Has Miss Nutrix in their clutches potentially. Rebecca Morell finally, and I mean finally, peels into the pit lane at the end of lap 14.
She absolutely does. Hard tyres going on, which is interesting now. Rain is expected in about 10 minutes time. Considering we've already had, what, 15 laps? That's a minimum of about 15 minutes. And what has happened up at the front, though? That's Emma Clay, who I think just had to defend from Catherine Thielking right to the lead of the race. It could have been a day late and a dollar short from Thielking, but Clay retains at the moment on the run down towards turn 4. I think we are starting to see this battle up at the front car start to spice up as both Red Bull racing cars as well, now within each other's grasps. It looks like the undercut not necessarily as powerful this time around.
Rebecca Morell, the tyre whisperer, speed queen. I'd probably change your tag after that. That's absolutely ridiculous work from yourself, but gets DRS, just has to bring the hard tyres in and then can use that pace as much as possible. I think Thielking knows she's got the pace in race trim. It's just a case of getting past and getting down the road. She's already got a penalty next to her name. She doesn't have anything to lose in that department relative to Emma Clay. She just has to push like hell and get through. But look at the forecast. In between 10 and 15 minutes, that light rain is going to emerge, and that percentage is increasing exponentially now.
It absolutely is, from 21% at the moment up to 85 in the next 15 minutes or so. Sources are saying it's expected to come slightly before that. I've sent George just down the road in Austria to go scout out the weather for us, and he's reporting back live. He does tell me there is a bit of rain on his head, unfortunately, but that is coming our way, Carl.
Indeed, absolutely, and that's why Catherine Fielking feels like it's all the more of paramount importance to get past Emma Clay as quickly as possible and use the race pace that they know they can extract as Melissa Muller gets past Miyuki Panda. That recovery drive has gone pretty well, I would suggest, up to P8 after that first lap excursion at the very first corner. Still the front two separated by less than a second. Lee Woodward is catching up by, dare I say, about 2 seconds a lap, maybe even 3 seconds a lap in some cases. They are absolutely flying in that McLaren car. More penalties are reined in, though, in the case, in this particular circumstance, of Willow Keeble. 3 seconds penalty next to the Alpine driver.
You're absolutely right. It's not the way that they would have liked to see this race go. Just a reminder of how the penalties do stand for all of our drivers. It's 3 seconds to Fielking, Keeble, and of course Cutie Bunny, Sarah Hardy, as we do see another move here by Catherine Fielking up in towards turn number 3. The V-Carb car now decides it's her turn to lead the procession of this race. Emma Clay happily, I think, just letting the V-Carb do it, an opportunity to save some battery, use the DRS as well on the run down towards turn number 4. Aston Martin, a well-practiced, a well-versed racer. She knows it's not necessarily all about leading in these laps. It only matters about leading when we get to the end of lap 36, Carl.
That's the one that matters. That's the only one that counts in terms of statistics and race results at the end of the day. We can talk about the amazement of driving. We can talk about the strength of the stints all the way through. There's our pole sitter, ladies and gentlemen. Currently down in P7, Rebecca Morel in that Red Bull car. Again, it just hasn't quite worked out in race trim at the moment, but we are only at the fulcrum point of this race. Now make that the fulcrum point of this race, and we have a new race leader. Catherine Fielking leads from Emma Clay, only half a second separate them. Lee Woodward catching at a rapid rate of knots is now less than 6 seconds behind the top two. Miss Nutrix trying to fend off Willow Keeble, but resistance is futile. The Alpine's already through at turn number 1. Red Bull on nose to tail. Speed Queen, I imagine it will be a pretty easy pass with DRS. On the run down towards turn number 3, Melissa Muller in P8, then it's Cutie Bunny in the Williams and Carlotta Marchi in the Ferrari to round out our top 10. And Heather isn't that far away from a potential top 10, has just been displaced though by the Williams.
She has indeed, but in a battle here with Mayuki Panda as well as Teeny, as you said, Martine Smith just ahead of her. So three-way fight for what will be P11 on circuit. All of these drivers within points opportunities here. Heather just a little bit around the outside, but Mayuki Panda with a penalty for cutting that corner through the right-hander, and that is an unfortunate way to not only get the overtake, but then to be punished for it as well. So if we see a race finish closer than 3 seconds up to the back of Mayuki Panda, that position will well and truly be handed back to that driver. Interesting to note here, Carl, 3 drivers within the top 5 are yet to pit. Fielking, Clay and Nutrix, all of those drivers opting to start on the hard tyres. Heather as well, down in 13th place, the only other driver yet to pit this race. We've had other drivers starting on the hards and opting for a set of the mediums, but with rain coming in 6 minutes time, I think we are going to see the switch onto the wet weather tyres before race end here.
Indeed we are, and hopefully they have the tyre wear, particularly the top 2, have the tyre wear to get there unscathed. They'll be hoping so, certainly. Was 50%, or just over, in the mid-50s for Catherine Fielking a few laps ago. Just got to nurse them a tiny bit, but they can't afford to rest on their laurels too much because Lee Woodward is now under 4 seconds behind on that same compound of tyre, the hard compound tyre, and that is just going to, it's going to exacerbate the issue even more. A brief yellow flag through the final corner. That might well have been Mayuki Panda just having a little bit of a moment going through, but no problems at all. They're still on the bitumen. They carry on through the final 2 corners. Lee Woodward reeling in that gap all the while, nearly under 3 seconds to Emma Clay, as Catherine Fielking looked to try and escape.
You're absolutely right. Every time Theoking, I think she's somewhat in the safe and clear. Emma Clay seems to find 8th or 9th gear, it would appear. That Aston Martin just stuck to the V-carb in front of it like a North and South Pole magnet. But all this battling is allowing, as you said, the likes of Lee Woodward down in P3 to try and challenge up to the rear of the Aston Martin, the V-carb respectively. Speed Queen gets the better of Miss Nutrix on the run up towards turn 3 for themselves. Those fresher tyres, the difference quite considerably of 14 laps to the better of Speed Queen, allowing her to get the overtake up into P5. But we are still expecting that additional pit stop to have to come into fruition with 16 laps or so remaining here, folks. Let us know in that live chat down below, whether you're watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on YouTube, who you think is going to take victory here this afternoon, because I guarantee you it's all going to get shaken up when the rain starts to fall. The first ever time as well that we will have seen rain here in the W1 Sim Series.
It's always a day of firsts in W1 Sim Series. I absolutely love it. It was very interesting to see the different approach from Catherine and Emma Clay, courtesy of the Helicam. Catherine Thielking pushing to the absolute limit, right to the white line. Emma Clay taking a much, much more conservative approach. Meanwhile, her teammate, Miss Nutrix, finally peels into the pit lane at the end of lap number 20 in her case. She's going to have to box for medium tyres, but that is so close and agonisingly close to that rain starting.
You're absolutely right, but with the laps so short here in Austria, you could pretty much do 4 or 5 laps before this rain even comes into its zone. So it's not a question of if you could try and outrun it, because the tyre wear is so high. Little lock-up from Emma Clay, our race leader there, in towards turn number 3. And now look at how close Woodward is on the fresher rubber. 9 laps better rubber, to be precise. And again, a 3-way battle to see how this race goes.
Well, Lee Woodward, how's your bottle? We're about to find out, ladies and gentlemen, as through the Verth curve they went, through towards the Rind curve they go. Lee Woodward's not even waiting. Down the inside of the penultimate corner, the tyre delta is so much more significant, as Emma Clay was caught in 2 minds, I think, about peeling into the pit lane. An extremely perplexing moment from the Aston Martin driver. Catherine Thielking's also going to get through, and there's why she was caught in 2 minds. Look at the rear left tyre, 83%. More so than that, I think she's got a puncher.
Yeah.
Emma Clay has a puncher on the rear left. She's just pushed it. 1 lap too many.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's raining. Carl, it's rain. Rain is here. Wow, this is going to be a spicy race for themselves. I think you're absolutely right. Rear left, by the look of it, is starting to become delaminated. Yeah, you can see it there. It's the close-up shot. So not only is rain coming here, Carl, the optimal time to pit would have been last lap for Emma Clay, but now the opportunity, the question is going to be asked, are intermediates at any point ready for this track? We can have a look at the tyre delta. We can see what the game's saying. It has no idea which way this is going, and I don't know why.
Well, with a puncture tyre of Emma Clay, what she's got to hope now is it doesn't completely delaminate, because it can happen in this game. Willow Keeble pushing her through the Verth curve is just going to skate on around the outside. Emma Clay is praying all the while that there is phenomenal precipitation that is falling on the Austrian circuit, so she can go straight onto the intermediate tyres. Has to get the pit lane entry. Absolutely right, and this time she does. Into the pits comes the green machine, but what heartbreak for Emma Clay after all the work that she had done. Rather comically, it's saying that she's got 85% wear on the rear left. It was definitely punctured, we promised. Into the pit she goes, and no surprise really that it will be those green striped intermediate tyres, and others have followed. Miss Nutrix and Jessica Ball both go on to Inters as well.
Absolutely they do. They believe that this is going to be the stop, as does Heather down in PE15, the first stop for that Mercedes car. And I think we were right in saying that some of the hard tyre runners that were yet to pit, the only driver that is still yet to pit is Catherine Thielking. Some of them had no choice after seeing the puncture for Emma Clay. They knew their tyres were going to be in very close succession, if not identical, in terms of damage, in terms of wear. But the rain is starting to fall here in Austria. Our race leader, Sharkstorm, Lee Woodward, is on 13-lap old hards. They know they can go for a considerable longer distance here this afternoon. We've got yellow flags further back. I think that is just one of the cars slowing down to allow lap traffic through. But Sharkstorm stays out. Thielking's in the box here then. 22-lap old hard tyres. 91% on the rear left for Thielking. Manages to get it home. Teeny, though, that's going to be Martine Smith. Speeds in the pit lane. And that's heartbreak for Williams.
It is heartbreak indeed, I'm devastated. But equally, Lady Luck is on someone's side tonight. My goodness me. 91%. I mean, if you're brave and bold, it usually pays off. Emma Clay, it was completely the other side of the coin. Catherine Thielking has played inadvertently an absolute blinder here. Goes on to the intermediate tyres. My big comparison, though, is watching, I believe, Melissa Muller versus Emma Clay, because I think Melissa Muller still on the dry tyres. I just have to double check. And yes, she is. Even with front wing damage, still on the hard compound tyres. The Delta is saying those inters are now quicker. Emma Clay lost about 7/10 of a second on the last lap. She's just managing to eat away at the margin little by little on this lap.
So actually, I think you're reading that differently, Carl. She's on a set of hard tyres at the moment. What it's saying here is fresh hard tyres will be 2 seconds quicker than her current tyres. Inters at the moment are only half a second quicker, but getting quicker as well. So as it stands, it's still dry tyre running, but the wet tyres are starting to come into their own. You can see that time ticking and ticking up closer and closer towards 1 second, and it will only continue to get better as more rain falls on this circuit, but it is still dry, in my opinion.
Someone tell Lee Woodward, don't box, stay on the hard compound tyres. They're still quicker, my friend. But no, they've peeled into the pit lane. It will be the safety game played, going for the intermediate tyres. Willow Keeble and Rebecca Morell, what could this do for their race? What wonders could it potentially play if they box at the end of this lap, where that crossover is closer and closer? That is the million-dollar question. There's the tyre delta. Still the hards have about a second a lap worth of advantage, or new hards at least. The inters are getting faster and faster, though. You can see it on the tyre delta. 2.2, make that 2.3 in a matter of moments. It is catching up. Surely these two have to box at the end of this lap, just in any kind of response. But at the moment, the dry tyres still seem to be holding their own.
It's interesting the wet tyres are starting to come into their own as well. Not that I think we'll see them run, but as we head into this right-hander, it is going to be pits for Willow Keeble. Will Speed Queen do the same? No, she's opting to stay out here, Carl, and I've got even more worse news. The rain's only going to get heavier until the end of this Grand Prix. It is not going to ease up. They will need those wet tyres on at some point.
Well, what do you do now if you're Rebecca Morell? If you want a chance to win your first race in W1 Sim Series, if you want a chance to get that gremlin of not having the race fortune of others off your back, do you dare to go straight onto the wet tyres? My answer is probably no. Don't do it. I'll be honest. Just go onto the intermediate tyres. Don't be that bold. We don't recommend it. But either way, stays out for another lap. That gap still remains relatively stable between herself and Lee Woodward, and also gets a helping hand of DRS from the Ferrari. I believe that is of... I'm not entirely sure. I think it's Melanie Jander, based on position on the track. But Rebecca Morell carries on her merry way. The gap is coming down, though. 7/10 of a second. Lee Woodward has gained. Rather interestingly, Catherine Thielking, by staying out and getting on those hard tyres to 91%, so far in the interstint, she's gained about a second and a half.
She absolutely has, and look at this, the crossover, I think, is actually at this exact moment as we see the likes of Rebecca Morell, Speed Queen, peeling into the pits. The inter tyres have started to become better. Softs are slightly better, but compared to hard tyres and tyres you're actually going to theoretically run in this race, it is time for wet tyres on this circuit. The question now opens up, who's going to do well when conditions turn a little damp? Who's going to do well when the conditions become a little sunny, Carl? We've got 10 laps to answer that question, and all of our drivers are prepared to give us an answer.
We do, but Catherine Thielking's just got another 3-second time penalty while she's on her quest to try and catch and usurp Lee Woodward. That's now 6 seconds of penalties. Willow Keeble gets a time penalty as well. It's Emma Clay does manage to get through on Rebecca Morell, but it's only by 3/10 of a second by staying out for those extra couple of laps. What a good position. Our pole sitter has managed to put themselves in. The gap to the race leader at 12 seconds is, well, it's alarming to say the least. But what can anyone do now to stop Lee Woodward? Can anyone do anything to stop Lee Woodward as we head through these final 10 tours?
That is going to be the age-old question. Let us know in the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat. Now the conditions have got a little bit damp, a little bit overcast, a little bit rainy. Who you think is going to do well in this race? Will it be Woodward? Will it be Thielking? Keeble or Clay, or somebody else, the likes of Morell, Jess Ball, who knows? We might even see a safety car to spice this race up. Let us know in that chat who you think is going to take a race win, and will we see our first ever double winner here in the W1 Series? We've had 3 rounds so far, of course 3 different race winners. Alas, Lee Woodward could go to be the first ever 2-time winner here in the W1 Series. And I think you're absolutely right in chat. F1 Addict says it's Lee's to lose, and I have to agree.
I have to agree as well. Make that 3 for 3. 2.1 seconds the gap, not really being chomped into rapidly. Steel King with that extra time penalty. It is Lee Woodward's to drop the ball on. So far, though, they've got it completely under control. That inspired strategy to go for the mediums, pit onto the hards earlier than anybody else. I think that's Annie Crevice. It is Annie Crevice going the wrong way towards turn 1. They have to be very careful not to be disqualified. They put it into reverse. That's the sensible call. Slight biff of barrier, but they will carry on their way. Not a moment too soon. Just look at that. That is immaculate. Millimetric judgment between themselves and the barrier. Meanwhile, Williams is hard at work, passing Carlotta Marchi for P11 on the road. Miyuki Panda is up to P9 from the back of the grid. That's the other good news on the road, and a very good story in terms of the grid placing so far during this race. Has just spaced out a little bit towards the front of the field. Rebecca Morel is catching Emma Clay. The problem is, in the wet conditions, it becomes even more difficult with that dirty air in place to try and make the move stick.
You're absolutely right, and don't forget those drivers who may still be relatively new to the game, relatively new to league racing, or might be running no ABS for the first time in a while. It is going to be an even more treacherous and even more tricky condition for those drivers to try and master these conditions. It's one thing doing it in the dry car, one thing doing it in the wet entirely, and I unfortunately can do neither. So these women have my absolute admiration for continuing when things get a little bit unnerving.
They have my admiration as well. No retirements during this race. Again, it's a mark of the resilience that all of these drivers show out on the track. And long may it continue. Never ever give up. You always learn something by completing the race distance. As yet another yellow flag. Annie Crevice at the penultimate corner will peel into the pit lane with a bit of front wing damage to boot. This is the chaser though, hunting down the Ferrari. No, the Ferrari. There's emphatic in chat saying Ferrari, saying Ferrari cooking. There you go. Melanie for president. She's down in P13 currently, but she is piling on the pressure on the Williams up ahead. Carlotta Marchi just losing touch in the quest for P10. The McLaren of Lee Woodward still holds that lead. Still, the gap remains stagnant for P2 at the moment.
It absolutely does. The question will be, can Theo King try and make any inroads on the driver up in the lead of the race, or Sharkstorm, who's proved so resilient in races gone by, be able to hold on as we proceed with just 6.5 more tours of this circuit. Alexander, I do almost miss that as they get the better of Martine Smith in towards turn number 1, but the Williams with that absolutely stunning drive out of the corner. We've got a side-by-side battle here, folks, in the wet and windy conditions. It's Ferrari power versus Mercedes power as we climb up the hill towards turn number 3. Are we going to see a move late on the brakes by Tini, also known as Martine Smith? No, but look again, once again, the traction out of that corner for the Williams proving absolutely unprecedented for Melanie Jander to try and deal with in towards turn number 4. Once again, late on the brakes, I think will be Jander. No, just plays the patient game, and this is fantastic to see both drivers battling, but it's wide from Smith in towards the fourth corner, and once again allowing Jander to file on through, Carl.
Delightful little dogfight. Played the tricks of the Williams behind, who piled on the pressure into Remus, forced her to go wide on the brakes. So she said, okay, so nice, we're going to do it twice then. Even more of that exacerbated issue for the Williams car. Melanie Jander up into P12. It is rapturous racecraft on display. That was the main overtaking point. It's all just stabilised at the moment though. Lee Woodward now completely in control. And I mean completely in control. 3 seconds now the gap. Just had to find their feet in the wet conditions for a little bit, but now that they found it, there is no stopping Lee Woodward. Not a chance.
Not in the slightest. We've got 2 drivers in towards the pits, the likes of Martine Smith and Annie Crevice. Both those cars just opting for what will be the, well, wet tyres going on to Annie Crevice's car. We'll have a look and see what Martine Smith decides to bolt on here. Questions will be raised. They're on intermediate tyres at the moment, 7-lap-old tyres to be precise. We'll have a quick look and see. Serving what will be the 10-second penalty, but full wet tyres going on to that Williams car. But we knew the heavy rain is coming, and it actually is starting to fall now. We can have a quick look at this weather forecast, and you see there, it's stormy conditions within the next few minutes.
Love it. Inspired strategy by the Williams. It could still be the race win, depending on how heavy the rain is. I don't want to alarm anyone, but the Williams car peels out of the pit lane. The Williams in question, ladies and gentlemen, is Martine Smith, and she's now going to absolutely rocket up to the back of Heather and win the entire thing. Probably not. But either way, Rebecca Morel is someone who's on a mission, is someone within a second. Emma Clay is the one that's having the pressure piled onto them by the Red Bull driver. Our pole sitter, 4 times in a row a pole sitter, hasn't managed to win a race, doesn't look likely it's going to happen today either. But even so, Miss Consistent, the championship leader, still looking to be inside that top 5.
You're absolutely right. And to quote Valtteri Bottas, it might not be great racing for, well, great weather for racing, but it is certainly great weather for ducks. Speed Queen still on the back of Emma Clay, who in herself is 5.5 seconds off the back of Willow Keeble. But let's not forget the penalties that will be applied to our top 3. It's 3 seconds for Woodward, our race leader, 6 seconds for Theo King, and 9 seconds for last week's race winner, Willow Keeble. So it is still all open to change. Don't forget, more penalties can come our driver's way with just over 4 laps of racing to finish here in the Styrian Hills in Austria. It can go any which way, Carl. It's not over till that checkered flag flies, and I think today that sentiment is going to be one that our drivers will have to live by.
Couldn't agree more with you. And this particular battle now, it's personal because it's for a podium place. Nonetheless, whoever wins out this particular battle will have a step on the rostrum. What consolation it would be for Speed Queen. What jubilation it would be for Emma Clay as she can cut into that championship lead advantage that the Red Bull driver currently holds. The gap, though, continues to get more compressed and more compressed with every single corner. Rebecca Morel piling on the pressure on Emma Clay. Late on the brake, shows the nose to try and deter Emma Clay away from the apex. Not going to happen in this case. She loses about 3 tenths. That's the double-edged sword that you play with. If you try and feint the maneuver, you do end up losing some time. Yellow flag briefly, I believe it is just Andy Crevice getting out of the way of the leading duo, and indeed it is on the wet tyres as well, which is very, very interesting stuff. I am watching the wet tyre delta as well. It's not quite working at the moment. I am very devastated.
Tell you what, it's pretty close between new inters and new wets. I think the wets could actually be quicker here at the moment, Carl.
Come on, Williams, go. Start pushing. This is your moment. You could win this. A slight mishap from Emma Clay, though. Rebecca Morel has a chance to again pile on the pressure to show the nose to the inside. Now she'll get the wash of dirty air. This is going to be the big dogfight all the way to the end.
It certainly is indeed, and I think Speed Queen Rebecca Morel certainly has Emma Clay's number, knows how that Aston Martin has been driving in these rainy conditions. The question is going to come down to the weather, how well our drivers can navigate these stormy, almost certainly stormy conditions now here in Austria. There is no lightning yet to call this race, no red flags, because safety cars pretty much out of the question with just over 2.5 laps to go here in this Austrian Grand Prix. Sharkstorm still leads by 7 seconds compared to Catherine Theoking. Willow Keeble also 7 seconds off the back of second place, with Clay just 6.5, nearly 7 seconds off the back of third place as well, but will inherit third place due to the 9 seconds worth of penalties that Willow Keeble has in her locker. But the question is, can Willow Keeble maybe try and pull that extra second and prevent the likes of Clay, the likes of Morel from trying to steal away that podium position? Because at the moment, all the battling for 4th place is certainly looking to be the way that it could end up going.
It is indeed, and particularly if these two continue to fight on as hard as Rebecca Morel is trying to fight on. If there's any kind of move or shape thrown towards the Aston Martin, then who knows? It could go in Willow Keeble's favour. A second podium in a row, more points on the board, a charge up the championship order. It all plays in favour of the Alpine driver, but she's got to hope that these two fight again. Slightly nervous, the body language of the lean green machine of Emma Clay as Rebecca Morel closes in once again. The championship leader looking to apply that final flourish in this final stanza of this race. Towards Remus they go. They need to be basically within 2 tenths of a second to properly think about diving down the inside, but manages to pinch the apex well. And if they just continue finding that balance, they've just got to catch Emma Clay at the right time. But the question is for Rebecca Morel, when the right time is.
You're absolutely right. It's going to be that age-old question. When can Morel maybe just try and stick a nose down the inside, maybe catch Clay off guard, because we know what a determined defender Clay has been over the first 3 rounds of this season. Hug to the inside, hug the middle of the track, hug the outside of the track when necessary. and has learned from some of the best in the business, of course. But Emma Clay in her own right, a race winner here in W1, and one that is looking to go potentially for a second race win. Might not be today, unless penalties drastically change this situation. But I guarantee you this, we will see Clay, I'm almost certain of it, win another race here in W1 as the season goes by. But as you said, Rebecca Morel still standing in 5th place, yet to win a race by herself. Sharkstorm looking to go for a second win for herself after winning what was round number 1 in Australia. Had to remind myself there for a minute. But the battles all over the shop are looking to intensify. Mayuki Panda having a good scrap with Sarah Hardy as well, down for 9th place. We now see an opportunistic move potentially from Speed Queen. Rebecca Morel looks towards the inside for turn 3, demands the space from Emma Clay, and the right-hander gets the space done. But who's going to have the better traction? It looks like Clay, that outside line, but they are 2 abreast on the run down towards turn 3. Remember, this is certainly for a podium position on this occasion. Round the outside goes Emma Clay. She had to defend from Lee Woodward slightly earlier on in this very similar situation, but Rebecca Morel still trying to hold on side by side, but this time around doesn't have the pace to try and hold on to Emma Clay's car.
Lee Woodward crosses the line. Meanwhile, we do have a repeat winner in W1 Sim Series. A stunning Spielberg drive from Lee Woodward to win in the wet conditions. Catherine Thielking will take P2. Willow Keeble will cross the line in P3. But who's actually going to take P3? Once penalties are applied, Emma Clay and Rebecca Morel pushing each other to the very last apex, almost pushing through the diffuser of the Aston Martin. It's Emma Clay who takes the final podium place. Rebecca Morel has to settle for 4th this time.
You're absolutely right. Round the corner comes Jess Ball as well to finish off 6th place. No penalties to her name. I can't believe I missed the race finish there, Carl. We got so engrossed in that battle for what was the podium in the end. I can't believe we didn't catch Woodward coming across the line. My apologies, Lee. Please don't take that personally. But everybody else starting to come across the line. Panda finishes 9th with Sarah Hardy finishing in 10th place. We got Teeny as well, Martine Smith for Team Williams finishing 14th, Annie Crevice in 15th. We then have Melanie Janda, Carlotta Marchi 11th and 12th respectively for the Scuderia Ferraris. Melissa finishes 7th with Miss Nutrix finishing in 8th place. A good result for herself, and one that she'll definitely be proud of here this afternoon. And Heather, our last driver to come across the line, it's points! It's points for Heather, Carl. She finishes 13th and will get 3 to her name.
Glorious day for Heather in the Mercedes. Welcome to the points club. In just your 4th race in your first league racing season, you have made it, my friend. Furious Fire through the final corner, and you know what? She had to go through it all. The weather, the brutality of league racing once again, but in just her 2nd race, again, she comes across the line, she completes that full race distance, and that is always something to be proud of.
You're absolutely right. And everybody in the chat is bigging up all the drivers that deserve to have bigged up. I think Curious Fire, as much as I don't want to make a pun on their name, but they have had a trial by fire over the last 2 rounds or so. It's certainly not one that you'd want to come in. Obviously, everyone's learning, everyone's still driving, and the reception's been fantastic. In mixable conditions for all 16 drivers to finish. I think everyone has to give themselves a pat on the back for that one, because I know I'm sure Adam Sanson can agree with me in the Twitch chat, probably would have ended myself in a wall by lap 9 here in Austria. But Sharkstorm not only takes the fastest lap, race win and driver of the day, 3 awards going her name. Melissa Muller gets most overtakes after a fantastic drive starting down in P8, finishes P7th, and cleanest driver goes to Jess Ball. But I agree with Twitch chat, Mayuki Panda starting in 16th, finishing 9th. What a race that has to have been for the McLaren. But your complete and utter grid order then here this afternoon. It's Sharkstorm from Thielking, from Clay, from Morel. Keeble finishes 5th with Ball in 6th. Muller finishes 7th with Nutrix in 8th. Panda finishes 9th with Hardy in 10th place. Marchi finishes 11th. Janda 12th. Heather finishes 13th with Martine Smith in 14th. 15th goes to Annie Crevice to round off the points, and Curious Fire in what was her 2nd ever league race car, getting to the ending mixed conditions. Things you love to see.
Absolutely. Could not agree more with you. Well, yeah, again, another blockbuster race. 4 races. We haven't had a miss. George Morgan might be commenting on bullseyes, but we have hit that bullseye every single time with every single race we have had. Unbelievable stuff.
Absolutely unbelievable stuff. It has been 180 after 180. I hope I got that reference ever so slightly right. But what a first opening 4 rounds we have had We're nearly halfway through the calendar, and we will remind you of that in just a few moments' time. But what races we've seen, what determination from all of our drivers we have seen, not only to have pretty much everybody finish for the majority of races, but just to get to the end of that one race there. Mixable conditions, the first time we've seen rain in the W1 Sim Series, and quite possibly it's the first time some of these drivers have ever seen rain in a league race format as well. So massive, massive congratulations. I think I'm just going to take a minute, just a round of applause for that one. Fair play.
They deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. And you know what? Lee Woodward, fair play to yourself. There was always going to be questions after Catherine Thiel-King, race pace merchant, after Bahrain, could actually manage to get that gap. But as soon as they found the confidence, they just ran away in the wet conditions. They were absolutely imperious. A superlative drive from the McLaren. I believe that also means the championship lead. It's changed hands. No longer is it Miss Consistent at the top. It's the two-time race winner in W1 Sim Series. They're taking top spot at the moment.
I think they absolutely will be. Of course, you can check out all of the standings. They get posted on our social media at W1 Series. But what a victory for Lee Woodward here today. And Carl, we didn't have any drivers in for a chat last week, but I can confirm we've got the entire podium in for a chat this week. So why don't we start off with Emma Clay herself. Of course, finished in P3. Emma, I think that's got to be a tale of two races, many aspects. So you had the puncture, the wet weather as well. It wasn't necessarily, I think, one that you'll look back on.
Yeah, that was a very difficult race. I'm still somewhat happy with the result, even though, with the puncture and everything, just to be on the podium is a good result nonetheless. I managed to keep Rebecca behind, even though she got past me on the last lap. Just a traction game there, but yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Would have fought for the win without that puncture, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, it was, I think, one of those races where it seemed to go from bad to worse. Obviously, that puncture we saw right at the last minute, I think you got it on about 83 or 85%, and we saw others take their tyres to 91% wear, and it's that unfortunate kind of RNG element, isn't it, of how the tyre wear works in F125.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they were going to give up that soon. I thought maybe I had like a lap or two to go maybe before I would get a puncture, and it was just a bit silly. I mean, I was passing the pit lane when I got the puncture and I just panicked and didn't go into the pit lane. So yeah, I mean, trundling around the track for a whole lap definitely lost me a heap of time. So yeah,
we saw that moment where it looked like you were going slow through, what was it, turn 9 and turn 10, and we were trying to question what was happening. Obviously saw the puncture after the fact, but what I can't imagine what was going through your head there, but maybe try and talk us through it.
I don't even know what I was thinking. Probably like, oh my God, why didn't I pit? But I was just trying to, be really careful through the corners after I got the puncture and just absolutely dump the battery on the straights. But it was getting really difficult in the double left. I was just trundling at such a slow pace. But yeah, I mean, finish on the podium. Regardless, I think it's all right, I guess.
Absolutely. Carl, I'll open the floor to yourself here.
I'd say it's more than all right. I'd say that's a pretty rapturous recovery, all things considered. So fair play to yourself. Next week, we go to the birthplace of F1. We go to the British Grand Prix. Thoughts, feelings, hopes? What do you think?
Well, I won it in the social race. But yeah, I mean, just who knows? I mean, I'm hoping to keep to winning ways. Hopefully finish on the podium there and keep my championship hopes alive. But I do really like Silverstone. It's not very technical track really. It's just a couple of corners there where you really have to set yourself apart from other drivers, but yeah, it's just a strategy game really.
Absolutely. Emma, absolutely fantastic drive. Still a podium, still some good points to take home for the championship as well, and we wish you all the best of luck as we head to Silverstone next week out as well.
Cheers, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Emma Clay, everybody. P3 in today's race, and I think one that was decided quite possibly by both rain and obviously that puncture that came right at the end. We'll next get in, though, of course, P2, Catherine Thiel-King, which I don't think we've spoken to in a very long while. If I could try and drag it down, if Discord wants to play any sort of ball. There we go. We can get Catherine Thiel-King in for a chat, everybody. Catherine, P2 on the road. A couple of penalties to your name as well, but you just managed to hold on at the end there. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty decent. It was not a bad race. It was quite unfortunate. I thought the raid would come in a bit sooner, which is why I was stuck on those hards for so long. But Yeah, quite unfortunate. Maybe if I knew the rain would have came that late, I would have done the medium strat like Lee. But yeah, overall my race pace wasn't too bad either. So
Yeah, we saw you took those hard tyres, I think quite possibly the longest of the entire grid, up to, what was it, 91% wear by the time you peeled into the pits, and it was that real risk versus reward, whether you'd get that puncture at the end. Was there any concerns that you were going to fall foul to that puncture, or sort of the RNG element?
oh yeah, I was definitely thinking about that. I got pretty lucky. I didn't get a puncture there. But yeah, I was really nursing my tires the last few laps of that stint.
Absolutely. And of course, just talk us through penalties as well. Obviously 6 to your name in the end after, I think it was accumulating just a lot of warnings. It's a tough track for track limits, isn't it, Austria?
Yeah, I do struggle with this track for track limits, and today I was just clumsy. I just didn't reel it in enough, but it is what it is.
It absolutely is. Carl, floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, firstly, congratulations. Your race pace is incredible, like, honestly. So,
Thank you.
plaudits to you. Hats off to you. Credit where credit is due. You've got 2 podiums in a row, of course, at Bahrain, now at Austria. We head to Silverstone next week. How do you feel? What do you think you can achieve there?
Hoping for another podium. Definitely always fighting for the win. But yeah, Silverstone is a very fun track, and I love it there. So, especially Maggots and Beckett's. But yeah, I will be hoping to do my very best there.
And just another one from me. Is there any, like, particular, obviously you've become quite acclimatized to W1 Sim series. Is there any particular style of track that you prefer, say, to some others? Maybe something more technical or something with high speed corner? Just your thoughts on that.
I think I do love a good street circuit. I enjoy Baku quite a lot. Spa, I'm really looking forward to Spa as well. That long track length, I really enjoy it. Just having as many corners as possible. It's just really fun.
Conclusion: she's quick everywhere. Be afraid, everyone.
That's pretty much what I was getting. So if you like the more corners, Saudi Arabia seems to be your calling there, Catherine.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have too much experience there, but that is a very fast track, and once you really get it right, it's so satisfying.
You're absolutely right. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure we'll see you in one of these podium interviews again, because as Carl said, absolutely stellar pace you've shown in the opening 4 rounds. With 6 to go, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, thank you guys very much, and I had a lot of fun here.
Thank you so much. Glad that you had fun as well. That's the main name, isn't it, Carl? Absolutely fantastic. But Catherine Theoking, P2, everybody, in today's race at Austria, and one that I'm sure people will be talking about for a very, very long while. But, well, I think it's only about time here, Carl, that we speak not only to the first driver to get 2 race wins in the W1 Sim Series, but the first driver to win in wet conditions as well. If we can drag them down. If Discord again wants to play ball, it doesn't let me drag much at the moment. There we go. Lee Woodward, everybody. First 2-time winner in W1. First winner in wet conditions as well. Lee, surely that has to feel good.
Yeah, it does. I feel like for the past couple of rounds, it's not been going well since Australia. Even though they're equal cars, I sort of felt like a lost feeling with it a bit. But it's nice to see the bit of the old me back, like pushing it to the limit as much as I can.
You're absolutely right. I think there was a lot of that on display here today, and it was certainly a race that I think will be remembered, finishing, I think, 12 seconds ahead of Catherine Theoking, 9 seconds ahead on track in the end, but a race that you've shown, I don't want to say dominant, but you were absolutely one of the best drivers out there today.
Thank you. No, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I mean, that race, it was one I was practicing because I knew it was where I could start to push more, because Bahrain and Japan I'm not good at compared to the rest of the season. So I just wanted to sort of get them out of the way, pick up a couple points, maybe a podium, and just push for the rest of the season and see what happens.
Of course, we've talked about penalties, we've talked about track limits around the circuit. Obviously, the big, I think, talking point from today's race was obviously that wet weather that came in with 10 or so laps to go. Were you prepared for that to come in? Obviously, it's the first time we've seen rain in the W1 series. Were you practiced? Was there any preparation before the race, if that came?
A little bit. I did a couple wet quali practices, a bit of wet weather racing, but it was more practice in the dry, get the setup perfect for that, and just hope it's only partially wet if it stays dry at all.
Absolutely. I think that's probably the best way to look at it. Carl, floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Well, Lee, massive congratulations. First two-time winner. You absolutely smashed it out there in Spielberg. We go to Britain, though. We go from one track beginning with S to another, to Silverstone. What are your thoughts and feelings for that? Is it a track you have a good affinity with?
It's my favourite track ever. In any sort of, like, any calendar we've had in F1, Silverstone's always the one I want to win. Like, I would give anything to win there. I'd rather win at Silverstone than win the championship.
Wow. It's a very, very bold. And I must admit, I think me and Carl will probably share a very similar sentiment. It's probably the best circuit on the calendar, both for W1 and in real life. Silverstone's just a fantastic track. Carl, anything further? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, not at all. Just, again, a massive congratulations. I was going to say, you've kind of answered the question for me, but you've seemed to really regain your confidence this week. It seemed to be lacking the last two rounds. The pace was never a problem. What does this do for you going forwards? Because something like this can do just such worlds for your confidence.
I mean, I kind of feel like I'm just getting started with the season. I mean, Australia was sort of that. I think I got a bit lucky with the safety car, the virtual safety car. This race was one where I was confident going into it, and I think if I just keep pushing it, I've got a good chance.
Absolutely. Well, Lee, fantastic to talk to you as always, and we look forward to seeing you next time out in Silverstone, and who knows, maybe another race win coming onto the cards for yourself there.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much. Your race winner, Lee Woodward, everybody. The second time they've won in W1. The first driver to go 2 wins in this series. Rounds 1 and round 4. Albert Park in Austria. Maybe they like circuits beginning, or maybe they like countries beginning with an A. Who knows what we'll see. But that's 4 rounds down, Carl. We've got 6 more to go. Before we sign off, should we have a little look at the calendar and run everybody through where we're going to go with those 6 to go?
Indeed. Round number 5 then. We've alluded to it. The birthplace of Formula 1. Silverstone. The British Grand Prix. And, well, winning the race is more than the championship for some of our drivers. That's just how special it is. The next 2 rounds after that, we continue the iconic streak. The Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, twisting and turning through the Ardennes forest before taking a visit to the Temple of Speed. It's Monza, just over midway through February. Ridiculous it's already February, by the way. Where's that time gone?
You're absolutely right. We head then to the end of February for Qatar, then Abu Dhabi, and we finish at where every F1 season should finish, in my opinion. We head to Interlagos and Brazil for the 12th of March for round number 10. And who knows which way this championship is going to go. Another little reminder of how those standings look. This is before today's race, everybody. Don't get too excited. But it was Rebecca Morel that stands atop the standings with 58 points. Emma Clay and Lee Woodward both tied in second place for 53 points. So I think we know which way the championship might be going after today's endeavours. But everybody else there on the board. Heather down in P20 scores her first points in the championship here today by 3 points, finishing up in 13th place, and one that she'll certainly be happy about. Everybody else, though, will be chopping and changing when points are added to their cars. And fantastic to see, pretty much everybody will have scored points here today, or points in the first 4 rounds, Carl.
Indeed, and Heather has got points. Heather has got points from today. She's off the mark as well. Catherine Thielking's catching up to that front of the championship. Lee Woodward is storming clear at the moment. There's so many stories to write, but the most important thing of all is everybody having a good time. Everybody having fun. Everybody being here and uplifting each other on their own respective journeys. And that's exactly what we're seeing. 4 rounds in, we're almost already approaching halfway through the season. And yet that good vibe, that good feeling hasn't gone anywhere. If anything, it's just got better and better.
It absolutely has, folks, and we're only 40% of the way through this season. We've still got over half to go, and don't forget, sign-ups do reopen for some reservists and drivers. If you wish to get involved, go check out the Discord, !Discord in the Twitch chat below. Come get involved and see if you want to come take part in some racing. Those sign-ups go live at the end of Silverstone, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but Carl, we reached the end of another Thursday broadcast. Who were some standout drivers for yourself today?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. You know what? It's boring. I think Lee Woodward has to be up there, particularly after that last wet stint where they were just exponentially quick. I have to put them up there. But Mookie Panda from the back of the grid garnered up P9 in the end. Very impressive drive indeed. Melissa Muller with that recovery drive as well. Tapped round at the first corner, was right at the back of the grid, made their way up to P7. Those are my 3 big standouts today.
Very much the same. I think I was going to go Theo King. Had a fantastic race pace there. The penalties were unfortunate, but I think by the end of the season, we will see a Theo King race win. I'm going to put some money on that potentially because I think she's got the race pace to be able to do it. I equally think Rebecca Morel, 4 from 4 in pole positions in qualifying. And again, another driver that I'm almost certain will get a race win here this season. The likes of Nutrix as well, who had a bit of a race that went under the radar, but still finished P8. Some good points to score for herself. And you can see the confidence growing, mainly the exit out of the corners. You can see just they're more confident putting that throttle down. And of course, Curious Fire, second race in F125, had wet conditions, which I think was definitely a trial by fire. Yeah, get it?
That's very good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm proud of that one. But no, every single driver should be proud of what they've accomplished here today. Because again, we're 4 rounds in, still 6 to go. Still lots of opportunities for our drivers to score points, score podiums, and score race wins. But Carl, where can the people at home check you out if they want to do so just a little bit more?
Well, I'll tell you where they can't find me. And that is the outer reaches of Uzbekistan. You won't find me there. But you will find me at where my name is. It's pretty distinctive. You'll probably find me there. Also, just while I'm here saying my piece, massive shout outs to all of you because, at least on the Twitch side of things, we crossed over 200 of you that have joined this channel on this stream. Absolutely ridiculous level of support. Massive shout outs to all of you. You lot are legends. And as always, DK, an absolute pleasure commentating alongside you.
No, pleasure is absolutely all mine. I've forgotten my bit where I was going to say that you can't find me. I think it was the tunnels of somewhere, but it's completely eluded me. That number is just absolutely staggering. And yeah, this literally, the show is put on for people that watch it, and I'm so glad that people are watching it and enjoying it, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you to each and every one of you that does watch it. If you want to check me out, I'm at They Call Me TK just on the name below there. I posted some stuff today for the first time in about 2 months, so do go drop me a follow. That'd be much appreciated. But no, until we see you next time, if you aren't following on Twitch, why not drop a follow? If you're not following on YouTube, why not drop a subscribe and a like as well? There we go, we did the shill bit. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok as well. We post some good stuff there. I'm really bad at this shilling stuff. But until we see you next time, Thursday evening, 7 PM, that is exactly where we will be. From all of us here in W1, it is good night and God bless.